Good evening and welcome to tonight's show from DJNTV, Disc Jockey News TV. Tonight's show is brought to you by Electra Voice, DJ Event Planner, DJ Trivia, Odyssey Innovative Designs and Cases, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, and the DJNTV Insiders.
DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Good evening and welcome to Monday Night here on DJNTV. I'm John Young and I'll be your host for tonight. And tonight we are going to be going through a list of 15 little tips for having a better wedding performance. There we go. Gosh, that was a lot tougher to say than I thought it was going to be. So I need to shut that off, turn that on. If you're joining us out there on the interweb, we are broadcasting to a variety of different channels tonight. I'm going to be kind of following the chat on YouTube, and I will grab that link and share that, and I believe that will share to all of the different chats out there tonight, which is Facebook, and there's a couple of different YouTube. There's probably 3 or 4. This is the main one I'm going to be kind of following because it's going to be easier for me to see as I'm going through with tonight's show. And I believe, yes, we are looking good. Everything is in place. Okay, so tonight's, if you've followed the Disc Jockey News channel, we have got, over the years I've done, 5 tips for wedding DJs, and here's another 5 tips and such. And then people occasionally will share some of their own tips. And last week, one of our followers submitted 15 different points, talking points here. And it was a really kind of a neat little list. Some of it we've covered before in our shows, and some of it was just some things that for most of us would be common sense. And they did such a wonderful job of that I wanted to make that part of tonight's show. So the user was Ego Sum Umbre Mortis was the name. And I think I probably butchered it, but hey, you know what? That's okay. I can do that because that's just the way it is. So what I did is I made it into a little PowerPoint thing, hey, look at this. So if I point that way, it's over there. So we made it into a little PowerPoint tonight, just making it a little easier for everyone to kind of follow along and be in that. So 15 tips for better wedding performances and results is the topic for tonight's show. Now, before we get into that, if you were watching in the preview, we talked about, or there's a little flash up for the DJNTV going to Las Vegas. Keep that in the back of your mind as we're going through, because there's more information going to be dropped about that. But you can go to djntv.com/Vegas to go to the event page. We've got a little information there. We have the full schedule. If you go out to either website, Disc Jockey News or DJNTV, there is a convention link there, and that will go to the page on the website where you can go and check out who's speaking and what's going on. Tomorrow there's going to be a live stream video that's going to go through everyone who's speaking and kind of why it should matter to you, because everyone is chosen for a specific reason. That's what I went through in a video, and it will be going up tomorrow. And so djntv.com/Vegas will get you to the event page. djntv.com/tickets with an S at the end will get you to the portal where you can buy your tickets. Right now they are at half off. You can go and get your half off with the promo code DJNTV Show 2020. DJNTV SHOW 2020. You go do that. You're going to get your passes at half price. They're going to be going up here about middle of October. So we've got a couple of weeks yet to get these passes. Check it out. Check the schedule out. If you want to come out and visit us and hang out with us, we'd love to have you there. It's going to be a great time in Florida. So that's what I wanted to get that out of the way, so I didn't forget about that. So tonight's topics, once again, are from one of our users. I want to send a big thank you out to Ego Sum Hombre Motis, that's the user, the handle for the YouTube channel, and whoever that is. And if your real name is Fred Jones, okay, that's cool too. So the first tip. First tip they had was to connect and get the phone numbers to the videographers, the videographers, venue coordinators, anybody who's involved with it. They mentioned best man, matron of honor, parents is another one I like to try to get the phone number and the contact numbers for. Basically, anyone who's going to be really involved with the event, whether it's another vendor or some of the key players at the reception. The best man, matron of honor is one that a lot of DJs do. The parents, some DJs do. You want to make sure that you have the ability to get in touch with some of these folks, because when it comes to the times of the toast, it's always kind of nice to be able to go and touch base with them. Do you have your toast? Great. Do you have any questions about that? I want to make sure that when you do your toast, that it's going to come in the microphone and to kind of walk you through how that works. Ideally, to be able to do a lot of this via video chat, like Zoom, which you guys have seen us use an awful lot, is helpful. But you want to have the way to get a hold of these folks, because if maybe you're going to do a voiceover with the father-daughter dance. Well, you need to get dad's phone number or mom to get it facilitated. That generally works better, is having mom facilitate the whole thing. But having that contact information is a critical thing to assure the success of your wedding. 2, to have a contract with the bride and groom, and ideally, when you do that, you have a line for the bride to sign and a line for the groom to sign. Have a contract with that, and you want to make sure you have all the pertinent details in that. Date, times that you're going to be performing, what type of services you're going to be offering. You don't want to put a guarantee that we're going to play, your favorite danceable songs. You don't do that. But okay, we're going to be playing music from X to X. It's going to include lighting. It's going to include sound. It's going to include these types of whatever the critical components. Basically, the things that you need to have on a contract to protect them, to make sure that they have what they need, and to protect you, i.e., the money that's going to be in exchange for that. And you got to have all that on the contract, again, with the bride and groom. And we'll jump back to that whole retainer deposit thing. You can use the word deposit. Most people now talk about they'd rather use a retainer, because using retainer, it is referred to that or insinuated that it's not refundable. A good attorney is going to get your retainer back if there is a reason for it. I.e., if I kept the retainer, they canceled 6 months out, and I just said, "Oh, retainer is not refundable." And then if I rebooked the show, rebooked the date, there is a good chance if they wanted to push it, they could get their deposit back. So retainer and deposit aren't magic words to a point. It's more the perception, but having the contract with both names and having that when the payments are due and all these little aspects to it, and what happens if there is a cancellation and what those dates are, needs to be all in a contract. And I would highly recommend having the signatures and having spots to initial on specific things like cancellation policies and final payment policies. Very important stuff to have in your contract. The next one that they recommended was meeting with a couple at least twice. In this day and age with video conferencing, like again, getting back to the Zoom.us, if you don't use that or something similar, you're missing the boat. Yes, meeting in person is certainly preferred, but to go and to be able to meet virtually and to be able to, in my case, pretty much everybody I talk to, one of us would have to drive at least a half an hour, maybe an hour, both of us, to meet in a central location. Whereas we can go and I can go click and we're connected within 2 minutes, whatever from, oh, hey, John, you got a few minutes? Sure. I can run out to the office where it's quiet. Click, we're connected. Talk. 15 minutes later, we can disconnect and we're done. And it's taken 20 minutes of our time total. So much quicker and easier. You could use FaceTime. You could use Skype. I wouldn't recommend those too terribly much, because you have to have personal contact information or personal account information to be able to connect that way. And some people will use Skype, and as soon as they're done, they'll delete the other person out of their account. Just use Zoom. I mean, you can use Messenger. Messenger video has really come a long way. That's a possibility, with more people having the Facebook portals and that being a big push here at the end of 2019. Those are every is those are all important things that'll fit into that. But right now, my preferred, and a lot of people's preferred, is using Zoom. The chat, you guys are a couple minutes behind me, or about 30 seconds behind me. Cosmo mentioned booking fee, better terminology. Again, though, if you have it in your things that if they cancel X amount, that you keep it. There could be that time, say if you wanted half down as a retainer, and they canceled 6 months out and your policy says no refund, and then you rebook it, they were able to find out there is in some parts of the country where they could take you to small claims court and they would win if they could prove that you rebooked, because that fee was a fee that you would have kept to basically litigate damages for a date that you couldn't fill. Well, you already refilled it. Now, you could say, well, I didn't refill it at the same amount. I had to take it at a lesser amount. That would be a good argument, and you would have a chance. But if you were selling $2,000 weddings, you took a $1,000 retainer, half price, half of that, and they canceled, you rebooked, you got another $2,000 event, there's not going to be a judge, a small claims court judge in the country who's going to say, yeah, you can keep that first $1,000. Yes, you're going to have some time. You might be able to keep a little bit of it, but most likely you're going to have to return the whole fee. So good. The wording booking fee is great, because I think that anything that just shows that they'll have a little skin in the game is so critical, I think, when it comes to that. So, okay, continuing on, number 4. Again, this list, by the way, is from one of our YouTube users. I want to thank that user out there for putting the tips into the comments area and allowing us to share these tonight. So number 4 is having a backup for everything. We always talk about maybe having a backup speaker or a backup mixer or controller, whatever. Basically, take a look at your system and have at least one backup or backup plan for every piece of gear that you have. What happens if my computer goes down? Well, maybe your backup is a tablet or your phone. Nah, not so much the phone. This is the third. Ooh, there's people messaging me. Maybe a tablet, maybe a second laptop. Oh, my controller goes down. What do I do? Maybe I've got a small mixer, or I have a small controller, or I have the wiring to go right into my speaker. What happens if a sub goes out? What happens if a top goes out? All these different scenarios. Go through every detail of it, short of you dying. And even at that, you probably should have a little plan, and something happens to you that there would be people who could take and deal with what's going on. Obviously, you wouldn't care at that point in time. That's pretty morbid. I'm sorry. But plan for have a plan in place for these things, and have backups for everything, because things can happen. Even if it comes to the point of having a family member who comes with you once in a while and knows how to do it. They may not be a very good DJ, but they might know how to do it in case if you get deathly sick at a show. It's happened. I've got numerous friends who've gone and, oh, you need to have supper with us. And they ate, and it didn't sit well with them. And they were all of a sudden indisposed for the rest of the evening. And they could get a second person in there to help them. So have a backup for everything. Okay, a backup. David mentions a battery system. Yes, you guys have seen me talk about those little Ryobi those little Ryobi inverters, little 150 watt inverters. I carry 3 of those with me to all shows, and ironically, I've used them 4 times at 4 different shows since I've had those. Controllers, everything. So there's so much. Yes, Rick mentions the backup with the power thing. Yeah, power is one of those little hidden things that if it goes out and the venue is dark and you can all of a sudden go click, click, and you've got a couple of battery powered lights that can go on and they're still lighting in the room, and then you can have some music, even if it's not at the same volume, you become the rock star. Not only in the venue's eyes, but in your guest's eyes, because the party didn't die. May not be as loud, but you can still function. Okay, 5, visit the venue at least once. My recommendation is, if you've never been to a venue, you do the concept I talked about in a video a few weeks back, where you go to the venue and you do a video walkthrough, to basically kind of talk to potential clients about what they could expect by working with this particular venue. And some of you have seen, I did a video walkthrough of an old barn venue, that there was a converted barn. Those are great. I would highly recommend doing one of those if you've never been to the venue. Once you've gotten to the point, meeting with the client at the venue to kind of walk through and talk about things is a fabulous idea. And that would be, your second visit, at least, I would recommend. Now, yes, if I know the venue really well, I don't need to go back because I know where everything is, and I get that, and I have venues like that. But even on venues I know really well, when I can sit down with a client and we can walk through the space and we can talk to the catering manager, we can share ideas, and all of a sudden somebody will throw out something that we never thought of before. And the catering manager is like, whoa, that's a really cool idea. We could do this and do this. And wait a second, then as the entertainer in the music, I could do this and this and move these things. And all of a sudden we come up with this really unique thing that has never been thought of before. So venue visits at least once, ideally twice, so you know exactly what you're getting into. Just looking here. Okay. Number 6, preparing music. This is something now a lot of us have other obligations during the week. We aren't just full-time DJs. We have other things we do, whether it's we're teaching, we're doing, we've got our day jobs, what have you. So preparing music is something that sometimes gets overlooked with wedding DJs who are doing this more on a weekend basis. Is that, we'll upload the current songs in there, but we haven't taken the time to prepare the music. And there's different aspects of that. First off, preparing to bring all the newest tracks in. So if you have a music service like Promo Only, to download all of the current releases, the mainstream top 20 and the urban top 20 and all the different charts, and making sure you have all those ready to go for the event. Secondly, is to prepare the music is to go through their playlists and make sure that you have all the songs. And in most of the cases, you want to preview. If you haven't played those songs, you want to listen to them a little bit and view them to make sure that there isn't this weird dead spot in the middle of the song, or that there isn't a long, set your cue points is really what you want to do. Even if it's a slower song, to go through and make sure that you know that doesn't have this weird, long, dragging ending that just, goes on forever. You want to make sure that you're prepared with their songs and their special requests, that you have them and you're ready to go with them. And those are good edits. Then the next I would go is to make sure that you're up on the current charts. What is hot right now? Right now you've got Lizzo and you've got Billie Eilish, that are two songs that are going to be really, really hot. And even at weddings, that they're being requested heavily. If you guys follow Mike Walter, he just talked about he wasn't going to play Truth Hurts, and all of a sudden someone up and said, the bride, last few minutes, the bride would really like to hear the song. He changed his last few songs and played the song, and the group just went crazy, and the bride absolutely loved it. So getting your music prepared and knowing what's hot right now. So if it could be, at finger's reach is hugely important. And then to make sure that, hard drives have been updated and replicated, so you have a backup of your hard drive. Your software on your computer is up to date, because, we just had Virtual DJ 2020 come out, and one of my laptops updated fine. My other one did not update properly, as far as I don't know what I didn't do right, but I had to go through and do a manual update thingy, or triggered it somehow. I don't know. But anyway, so make sure everything is up and running, and test your audio before you head out to your show. Chat. Yeah, Lizzo's really gotten hot recently here. And of course, it's hot at the top of the charts. Okay, I'm just following chats also. So thank you guys we've got a great crowd anyway with us tonight. Tip number 7, practice pronouncing the names. You'll have the list of the wedding party and the bride and groom, and you want to make sure that you're able to pronounce not only the first names, but the more difficult part of the last names. Now, yes, you can do the wedding party introduction without the last names of the wedding party members, and that's not the end of the world. Just by first names, because most of the people will, the first names is all you really would need there. But if you're going to announce first and last names for the introduction, especially if you have the situations where you have people married and they're back and forth, where if they're married couples where they're coming down the aisle together, best man and matron are married, the first groomsman and the first bridesmaid are married, that kind of a thing, then you might want to be introducing them in last name, so it kind of makes sure that they're together. Or if it's like this guy's married to this gal and this gal's married to that guy, and it's back and forth, maybe last names aren't as important, because you don't want to have that confusion of people trying to put names and faces together. Whatever. But when it gets to the couple, you want to make sure that you know how they want their names, their married names said. Is it Mr. and Mrs. Steve Jones? Is it Mr. and Mrs. Steve and Betty Jones? Is it Steve Jones and Betty Jones? Is it Steve Jones and Betty Smith? Because she kept her name, whatever it is. Or is it Steve and Betty Smith Jones? There's a lot of different things that could happen. Make sure you know what it is and then practice it so you can say it and not sounding like you're questioning the pronunciation of the name, which you guys have seen me do. There's no question. I've done it when we've done some shows, and there's been some difficult names that I just struggle with. But make sure that you practice those as well as you can so you can come through and say them boldly and confidently. And it's going to make a tremendous difference in your introductions. Continuing. Phil mentions song requests, and what's our next one? Taking song requests. Phil Phil is up on the game. Taking song requests at a wedding is something that's really, really important. And I think as DJs, sometimes we can get kind of bent out of shape about not wanting to take song requests because we should know what we need to play. We know better than what the crowd is getting into. And I think sometimes our ego can get in the way. And taking song requests is a good thing. And it doesn't, unless the couple say, please don't take song requests. And if that's the case, no problem. But at a wedding where they encourage me to take requests, I'll make a couple of announcements, throughout early in the night and say, hey, we're going to open up our dance floor. And if there's anything you'd like to dance to tonight, any song, any type of format, anything you'd like to do, come on up and talk to me. One thing that helps this tremendously is that during the dinner time, I'm not making my announcements from behind my DJ booth. I'm getting out on the floor and I'm off to the side, sometimes in the middle of the guests. There are times where I've actually gone and I've been at a table sitting down and talking to someone and then making an announcement right there. And then referring to sitting at that table. So people are like, whoa, where is he at? Oh, he's over here at the parents' table and he's talking to, the father of the groom. That gets you into the crowd. That makes you part of the party. That doesn't make you that, oh, we're the crowd and you're the DJ, that kind of a thing. So you're getting out there, and that helps really opening up that request door. And if there's two of you where you have a DJ and an MC, it can work really well with the MC to be working the room and such. I typically am working by myself just from the types of shows I do. So my methodology is to be out in the crowd and working the crowd that way. Talking about that. So taking song requests, I would highly recommend it, unless of course they say not to. And if there's times where there's a song request, if it's anything that you're questioning, should I play it or not, always clear it with the bride or the groom, preferably the bride, unless the other is more sober than that type of thing. But make sure you're clearing questionable requests by the couple before they're played, just so you don't have anyone getting offended and having that. There's nothing worse than having the groom running up and say, cut this song, my mother is going to kill you if you continue, that kind of a thing. You don't want that. So take the requests, but don't let the DJ ego and such get in the way. Okay, attire and hygiene. This is actually one that should be kind of a no-brainer, but I'm kind of glad that it was added to the list. Attire, you want to dress professionally. You want to dress at the level or a little bit, somewhere close to the level. For the guys, I want to be somewhat, I don't want to out the pace or over, upstage the groom, but I want to be up there so I look good. I want to be better than I want to look better than the guests, an average guest, but I don't want to upstage the groom in a wedding party. So you want to find that nice average. You don't want to be going in there and wearing jeans and a t-shirt unless it is a jeans and a t-shirt wedding, which I have had those over the years. We've had the Hawaiian things, the Hawaiian shirts and shorts. We've had the overalls and the straw hat, the barn wedding where everyone had to wear that. And there's been costume weddings. There was one of my DJs, she did a goth wedding once. Another one, she did a Renaissance where she had to dress up as a Renaissance type character. But you want to make sure your attire fits the occasion. You don't want to be everyone else is dressed up to the nines and you're dressed in a very casual, we have black denim and a polo shirt probably isn't going to fit when everyone else is wearing suits and tuxes in the room, if you know what I'm saying. Second thing is hygiene. You don't want to stink. That includes making sure your deodorant, that you're not having body odor, and that can be from chest perspiration and sweat on the upper body, and it can be from funky downstairs type smells. And you want to make sure that you are clean and you're taking care of and using the proper things to keep you from stinking. And I'm talking about your shoes, by the way, because there's nothing worse than sweaty, stinky leather shoes or the synthetic shoes that we use. So make sure you're get there. If it's a hot day, you're wearing something different. When you're done with that, there are different wet wipes and things you can go. And if you have to in your vehicle, you're basically going to take a wet wipe shower or wet wipe bath, get yourself cleaned up, deodorant, and use your things that's going to help cover and keep you smelling good. So you're not only not stinking physically that way, the body's not stinking, and then spend a little time, brush your teeth. If you're a coffee drinker, be very cognizant of that so you don't have that nasty coffee breath. If you're a smoker, same thing. You're probably not going to notice your because of the smoking, you don't have the smell, but be overly cautious when it comes to your dress and any potential smells that may come from you, whether it's from the mouth or from any part of your body. Okay, continuing. Alcohol. Alcohol is something that this is a discussion that DJs have all the time. Basically, my personal thought on this is that, yes, I've had DJs who couldn't perform. I mean, literally where the anxiety killed them until they had a drink. I've had DJs on staff that way. Did I agree with it? No, but I've seen it and I understand that. I'm not that type of person. Alcohol at a wedding, I feel that I'm there to do a job. I'm on the clock, and when I'm working, I don't drink. My pilot doesn't drink hopefully he doesn't drink when he's flying my airplane. My bus driver doesn't, drink when he's going to be driving my kids around on a bus. My librarian, she doesn't drink while she's, stamping my library card. So I, as a DJ who's working, shouldn't be drinking. There will be times where you're going to have people come up and say, "Oh, you got to have a drink with us," especially, mid to later in the night. There's going to be that couple who are like insistent on it. Now, if alcohol is a problem, not everyone can do that. So it might be one of those things to say, "I'm sorry, but I can't drink. I can't," and you can just casually, say that, that I'm an alcoholic and I don't drink anymore. Most of the 99.9% of the time, they're going to be like, "Oh, I'm really sorry," and they'll go and that'll be fine. Can I get you a pop? I had one DJ on staff who was an alcoholic, and they would be like, "Oh my gosh, we're so sorry. We didn't even think about that. Can we get you a Coke or something?" "Yeah, that'd be great." "Okay, great." Boom, they were good. You don't have to make up that excuse if it's not that. You can just, decline and try to decline in the best way possible. Thank them for thinking of you, but I'm working right now and I really don't want to. If they push hard enough, that might be something you have to do. And I've talked to DJs who have done that, and that was the end of it. You'll have to make that call. It's a judgment call. I've never had a time where I've had someone pushing so hard that I wasn't able to thank them. And, I appreciate you thinking of me. And it means a lot to me that you're thinking of me to bring that up, but I'm working right now and I don't drink when I'm working up here. So thank you, but no, thank you. And that's worked wonderfully. Jimmy takes medication. I'm on medication that makes me not fall over dead, and that medication goes against alcohol. So I don't think it's as big of a thing. When we first started, though, gosh, it was big. Oh, there were times where we'd be doing weddings back in the early 90s, and they come up with the bottles, bottle of whatever it was, and, "Hey, I want to take a drag off that bottle," or whatever. And it's like, no. Okay, announcements and mic use. This was an interesting one. Now, the angle that the talked about that not using the microphone too much. And Dan Carpenter and I did a show on this a week or two ago, talking about appropriate mic use. You're going to make announcements. There's going to be some you're going to be making at the wedding. You're going to be guiding people through the events of the day, letting them know what's coming up. There's appropriate announcements to be making. The thing with using a microphone at a wedding is to be able to have a plan before you open up the microphone. What am I going to say? What do I want to achieve by this? And use as few words as possible to achieve this. It isn't to get on the microphone and talk for 5 minutes. It's to say, in 5 minutes, we're going to be doing the garter and bouquet, and we're going to be doing them right on our dance floor. So we're going to need everyone out here for the garter and bouquet in 5 minutes. That would be the absolute most I would say to give them that warning. I might even go to, "Hey, in 5 minutes, it's garter and bouquet time on our dance floor." That might be it. Whatever it is, making it short and sweet, but making sure that you can understand what I'm saying instead of talking into the microphone like this, or you can't. That's not cool. If they can't understand what I'm saying, that's not an announcement that's worth making. If I don't know what I want to achieve by making the announcement, that's not an announcement I want to be making. I need to have a clear idea of what I want for the expectation, what I want people to do, and then what I'm going to say before I go out and say it. So, announcements, don't make stupid announcements that have no benefit to your show. number 12 was be prepared for change. Now, he talked about an itinerary that you're going to get this itinerary that you've helped put together and all these different things in it. And that eventually, or something's going to happen and we're going to need to change. That change might be we need to move something back 5 minutes. That might mean that we're all of a sudden taking pictures and we can't do that. We're going to have to move it back another 15 minutes. There's going to be change that happens. And one of the things that we have to be ready for is to understand is that there's going to be changes and we can't be all stressed out or freaking out or like, oh my gosh, that we have to take these things in stride and make it look like we planned for that to happen 15 minutes, that time instead of this time. We're the only ones, probably us and maybe the bride and groom and maybe a couple of others who would know that we were planning to do that at 7:30, but we ended up pushing it back to 7:45 because of something else going on. If I don't show the stress of how that changed, oh my gosh, I had my songs and if I show that, the guests are going to say, what's going on, man? This guy looks stressed out. This isn't any fun. We're not having fun. Let's go home. Well, maybe that's a little extreme, but the idea is that if I'm showing that, but if I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, we're 15 minutes later, let's go and keep going with the party and we just get into music again, whatever. That being prepared for the change, accepting the change and flowing with the change is going to make it so you have a much more successful event and people are going to have a much better time. 13, keep your area neat and clean because the thought behind that was basically when you get on the microphone, people are going to be looking to, the DJ's back there, and that's where the DJ is making his announcement. And then they're going to see what kind of a mess you have. So my good friend Jimmy and I, we like to use a lot of tripods in our Jimmy, no. Okay, sorry. But you want to keep your area looking neat and clean. Spend a little time with the wires to get them so they're running down your stands and your trees to make sure that they look good. You want to have, your bags and everything kind of either hidden behind or covered up, whatever. You want it so it doesn't look like a dump area back there. And yes, we all have the story of a videographer or photographer who came in and just dropped their bags. Yeah, that happens. But try to keep your area as tidy as possible. So once the lights go down, your area looks decent and people will be able to, they're not going to sit there and think about what a dump area that area turns out to be. So keep your area looking neat because they will be looking. They may not care, but they will be looking. 14. Remembering that sometimes your dance floor, and if you read tomorrow morning's article from Mike Walter, he talks about this actually. That success and having a full dance floor and people dancing all night, the two of them don't always go together. You can have very successful events and people absolutely loved what you did and there was very little dancing. And on the flip side, we've all heard of the receptions where the people were dancing even though there was we had a lot to drink and we don't remember anything and it wasn't that memorable, but boy, we were on the dance floor a lot. Well, it's because you were drunk. And when you're drunk, I can play Lawrence Welk, and you're probably going to enjoy dancing to some of Lawrence Welk. It's the way it is. Enough alcohol, and it doesn't really matter what I play. You're going to dance to it. The idea, though, is that you can't judge the success of what you've done by the dance floor alone. You're going to have some nights where the dance floor is not going to, the people just aren't dancers. They're more into listening. They're wanting you to create that soundtrack for the night, which is a Brian Red thing, and it's absolutely fabulous. That concept of creating the soundtrack for the night. So people can go and engage, and they can mingle, and they can talk, and they can go, oh, I love this song. Yeah, remember when we were, teenagers, and we were in a car, and we were, oh, this was the song that we did. So anyway, tell me more about your cousin. That kind of a thing. That's what we want to be able to do, is to create that atmosphere where people can reminisce a little bit. It'll take them back to a time of yesterday and they can enjoy themselves. And then occasionally they'll come out and dance. They may only hit the slow dances. That's okay. You can still have an incredibly successful event with just people hitting a slow dance here and there and then enjoying the night. So you're going to be able to gauge instead of them on the dance floor. You might be just, seeing people kind of bebop up in their chairs a little bit and they're talking and they're smiling and they're enjoying themselves. And then, of course, the volume will have to be a little bit different than if they're a dance crowd. And you'll have to get a feel for that. But just watching the crowd and seeing how the enjoyment factor with what you're doing is a better gauge for success than your dance floor. The last one is basically you need to love what you do in this industry. If you love to entertain people, you love to play music, you love to create that soundtrack for the night, whether it's a dancing soundtrack or a networking or chat type soundtrack. if you love to do that and you love to surprise people with music and you love to play songs that will, touch their hearts, if that excites you, you're in the right business. If those things don't excite you, to find a song that people say, oh my God, I haven't heard that in a long time. If that isn't exciting to you, you're probably in the wrong business and you need to go do something else. Love what you do. If you love this industry, you love that whole thing, and you love to hear that crowd going, yeah, when you drop a song that was kind of a surprise song, but they all know it. Again, read Mike Walter's article and you will see what he talks about this exact situation. When you have that, if that just makes your night, then you're in the right industry and you should be doing what you're doing. If it doesn't, it might be time for a little bit of a gut check and kind of looking at, maybe the DJ world isn't for me. And there's other things you could do. I like weddings, but I really don't care for the dance up. There might be photo booth side of it. There might be photography, videography, whatever. There's a lot of different things you can get into if you like that type of lifestyle, but you're just not, the DJ side just isn't exciting for you anymore. Okay. Hey, that is it. There are our 15 tips for having a better wedding. Some great content there. I want to thank again user Ego Sum Umbre Motis and I probably said it wrong. So anyway, from YouTube, thank you for the tips. If you guys have got some tips, if you haven't heard us talk about or something that really, really kind of is something important to you, don't put it in a live chat, because the live chat goes away and I never get to see it again after about two seconds once I shut down. But put those down into the chat below, the videos on Facebook or YouTube. Specifically, YouTube would be better. And then we can put these together for another show to help DJs as they're going and doing their events, specifically in this case, weddings. This is John Young with the Disc Jockey News, Disc Jockey News TV. Dan and I will be back in about 25 minutes, and we're going to talk all about taking requests. That's our second or last show for tonight. So once again, thank you for being with us, and we'll see you at the top of the hour. Bye-bye.